What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. And we are here to talk about UFC 248. Just ended maybe about an hour ago. I wrapped up my recap there on Forbes. So I'm going to actually kind of be going over it a little bit as I talk about the fights. I try to give everybody or give some people a chance to come through. I know we generally talk a lot about boxing here, but I also do cover MMA for Forbes as well as for heavy.com. So I know there is some crossover. There are some people who tend to watch all combat sports. I am definitely one of those people, have been for quite some time. So yeah, we'll see if we get people in here um to discuss the fights and what happened today. It was a pretty eventful, I would say, I would consider it a pretty eventful night of fights. The one of those events where the co-main event absolutely outshined the main event. You kind of hate those kind of fights, but you know, definitely the co-main event outshine the main event. In case you missed it, we're gonna go in and we'll talk about it a little bit. But in case you missed it, Weili Zhang, she successfully defended her title, UFC Women's Strawweight title, in just an epic fight with Joanna Jedrzejczyk. It was. I don't even want to. I don't even want to go too far into it yet until I get to that part of the card. But just know before I even go that far, yes, that fight was just amazing. In the main event, Israel Adesanya defended his title against Romero. It was a very uneventful fight. Unanimous decision. It was 48-47 on two cards, 49-46 on the third. Can't really argue with the cards. Just wasn't a lot of action from either guy. And so because of that, it's just one of those fights. It was pretty tough to score. I thought the co-main event was tough to score too, but for a different reason. All right, but let's go. I'm going to start from the beginning with this card. Yeah, there was some stuff that happened here. All right, so in the first fight of the night, Deontay Batgarel beat Guido Canetti, I'm sorry, TKO in the first round, 258. Was a nasty slip left hook that Deontay landed on Canetti, knocked him senseless with that shot. It was actually the first time Canetti had been stopped by strikes, I believe. So it was a nice victory to open up the event, and it felt like we might see a ton of action. And it did turn out that there were 5 stoppage victories in the 11 fights. So we did see something. The second fight I thought was a bit of a robbery when we looked at the judges' scorecards. Giga Shikazi defeated Jamal Emmers via split decision, 29-28 on 2 scorecards, 28-29 on another. One judge saw it for Jamal Emmers. I thought Jamal lost the first round, but I thought he clearly won the second and third rounds with takedowns. I thought he had the more effective striking. I just thought he deserved to get the victory. I don't really know what happened. Thankfully, this was the only bad decision of the night, I thought. So it seems like the commentary team pretty much thought that Emmers won too, but that wasn't the way that it turned out. So that was I thought that was a pretty strange decision. In the next fight, Gerald Meerschaert defeated baby Daniel Cormier, Deron Winn. Deron Winn, I don't know. This is an interesting one, and I planned on spending a little bit of time talking about this fight because Deron Winn came to the UFC with all kinds of hype. It's hard not to see the similarities between him and Daniel Cormier from a background standpoint, from a physical stature standpoint. They're both short, squatty, very powerful wrestlers. Deron Winn's 30 years old at this point now. He's 6-2, having dropped 2 of his 3 UFC fights. He had won a unanimous decision over Eric Spicely back in June of 2019 at UFC Fight Night 154, but then he lost a split decision to Darren Stewart. And then today he was choked out. 3rd round submission victory for Gerald Meerschaert. You got to watch yourself on the ground with Meerschaert. He is a heck of a submissions fighter, and we saw that today as he was able to get the better of the dominant wrestler on the ground. Deron Winn is just one of those. I mean, at 30 years old, man, I really feel like he's underachieving. He's fighting at usually fights at light heavyweight, and I'm gonna tell you, like, when I told you there were some similarities between him and Daniel Cormier. I think one of them, unfortunately, is the fact that both of those guys, because they're shorter, they're making these weight classes, but I don't know if they're necessarily fighting in the weight classes. They may need to get themselves down a bit. Deron Winn fought at middleweight today. It fought as high as light heavyweight. Still thought he was a little fleshier than he should be. He's never going to be this big chiseled guy for sure, but I don't know. I don't think that he is. I don't know. I feel like if he's truly in shape, he's a welterweight. That's what I feel like. I feel like he's truly in shape. He's only 5'7". 5'7", 185, I just think is still way too big. I don't know if it's even realistic for him to get down to 170, but I think that's his best weight class. I just think he's too challenged vertically and from a length standpoint. And I don't know. We'll see what happens if he can get down that far, if he'll find a way to get some victories. But I can't say that he's ever truly looked impressive yet in the UFC. I don't know, maybe was moved too fast because he's 30. He's only had 8 professional fights. He's already lost 2. I don't know, but wasn't super impressed. And the next fight, we had Rodolfo Vieira beating Saperback Safarov by submission via an arm triangle in the first round. Safarov doesn't have much of a ground game at all. He is a brawler, and he did land a decent shot on Vieira. I think he cut him across the top of the right eye. But Vieira's a outstanding Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I knew if that fight got to the ground, what would happen, and exactly what I expected to happen is what happened, which was a relatively quick submission victory. I was impressed with Mark Madsen. I'm impressed with him overall. He got a unanimous decision victory, pretty dominant over Austin Hubbard in the next fight. I'm liking this kid. I think he's 10-0 now, and really moving in the right direction with his career overall. He had been streaking together just impressive stoppage victories. But in this one, he had to go the distance with a tough guy, Austin Hubbard. But the wrestling pedigree that Madsen has as a former Olympian, he is 35 years old. So you kind of have to accelerate what's happening with him. But he is showing himself to have a well-rounded game. I think it's about time to turn up his competition a bit. In his first fight with the UFC, which was back in September against Danilo Belliardo, he won first round TKO. Only took him 72 seconds to get the victory. About 72 seconds to get the victory. This time he goes the distance, which I think is a good look for him against Austin Hubbard, who clearly, a bit unproven, but this was his third UFC fight. He's going the distance in all of his fights, but is 1-2 in those fights. So strong performance, I thought, for Mark Madsen. Looking forward to see what he has moving forward. The first performance of the night bonus went to Sean O'Malley. He defeated Jose Quinones TKO in the first round. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I really didn't think that O'Malley deserved the performance of the night bonus, not because his performance wasn't good. Obviously, you get a first round TKO victory. That's something to talk about. It's impressive. But I felt that Weili, and I'm going to talk about that co-main event in a second, I thought Weili deserved that other performance of the night bonus. I'm telling you, if you didn't see this fight, I'm going to show some images from this fight, and because if you didn't see him yet, oh my God. But yes, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. You gotta see what I'm talking about. But O'Malley got the victory. He was back after a 9-month suspension. A USADA violation kept him out. He's got star written all over him. He has a charisma, a style about him that just screams superstar. And so I think it's inevitable. It's gonna happen for him. Just the overall star status. But we'll see what happens. This was a good victory for him. The next fight was a pretty bloody fight, and it was, pretty action-packed. Alex Cowboy Oliveira defeated Max Griffin by split decision. Griffin thought he had done enough to win the fight, but I thought he had like a tough moment right there at the end of the third round, which I think ultimately was the difference in the fight. Oliveira is just a dog. He is just a dog. He is a absolute beast as a competitor. He moves around and stuff, and you think he's like this super jolly kind of a guy, but he is an animal in the octagon. Goes for the finishes and just a tough, very tough out. So he got the unanimous decision victory there. I mean, sorry, split decision victory. The next fight, I was really impressed. Neil Magny against Li Jinglong. And believe it or not, Lee was the favorite in this fight. And I thought that was a mistake by the odds makers. Magny's length and wrestling and his his advanced striking from a jab standpoint, because striking used to be a really big issue for him. That was his biggest weakness. But he has established a jab working down there, I think, with Team Elevation. You can see the most growth in his game as a striker in stand-up. And I think we saw that today. Lee, he did get a few takedowns. I can't remember exactly how many, but what I thought he really did well was keep Lee at bay with that jab. Lee is an all-pressure, come-forward style fighter, and I thought that Neil Magny did a great job really controlling space. And then when he was able to get the fight to the ground, he did what I knew he would do there, which was control the action. Lee did hurt Magny in the first round, but he quickly recovered. And I think pretty much took control of the rest of the fight from there. He won 30-27 on all three cards. The next up was the other performance of the night bonus, which was Beneil Dariush knocking out Drakkar Klose. Had it not been for this co-main event that I keep telling you about that I haven't gotten to yet, which is the next fight I'll talk about, had it not been for that fight, this Beneil Dariush Drakkar Klose fight would have been the fight of the night. Dariush gets the victory, KO a minute into the second round. In the first round, believe it or not, they drew some boos. Dariush went for the backpack rear naked choke. Drakkar Klose kind of held him there. He was hand fighting most of the time. He was actually kind of hand fighting the wrong hand. He was going after the non-choke hand, but Drakkar Klose is so strong, he was literally able to just kind of continue to peel Dariush's hands off to stay away from the choke. So he survived that. In the second round, he actually hurt Dariush with a hard strike. And we've seen Dariush be the victim of some nasty knockouts. And I thought we might be about to see another one. But man, did he ever recover, landed a right hand and made Drakkar Klose do a little bit of a chicken dance, followed up with his own flurry, hit a big left hook that dislodged Drakkar Klose's mouthpiece, and he was out before he hit the mat. Man, Dariush has now won 4 fights in a row. 3 straight have been by stoppage because he's also a fantastic submissions guy. And suddenly this dude's got a 4-fight win streak. And this fight happened. He was on the outside of the rankings coming in. And you got to wonder if he's done enough to now be ranked. I mean, Dariush has been I think, a pretty solid guy for some times. Yes, has he had some tough losses? Absolutely. Knocked out with 1 shot by Alex Hernandez, 42 seconds back in March of 2018. That was at UFC 222. He had a majority draw with Evan Dunham before that, and then he lost with a nasty knockout at the hands of Edson Barboza in March of 2017. Also got choked out by Michael Chiesa back in April of 2016. And the only other loss he had was in the UFC as well back in April of 2014. Got knocked out by Ramsey Nijum, and that was a first-round stoppage. But in between there, he had a 5-fight win streak. He beat Tony Martin, Diego Ferreira, Darren Cruikshank, Jim Miller, Michael Johnson. Those are quality victories. Then, of course, he gets submitted by Chiesa, but then he knocks out James Vick, beats Rashid Magomedov, all right? Then he had the tough stretch against Barboza, Dunham, and Hernandez. But he comes back. He beats Thiago Moises. Drew Dober submits him. That win's looking a lot better lately based off of what we've seen from Drew Dober. Knocks out Frank the Crank Camacho, and now he knocks out Drakkar Klose. I don't know. It's going to be hard for him to find his way in the rankings, and I'm going to tell you one of the biggest reasons why. Alex Hernandez came into this weekend ranked number 15, all right? You can't really necessarily elevate Dariush over him because he knocked Dariush out. He's also coming off a victory himself, unanimous decision win over Francisco Trinaldo. He does have the fight with Islam Makhachev coming up at UFC 249, which is a really big, a really good fight between two up and coming guys. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know. Dariush, I've always been a big fan of him. I've always thought he was just really a heck of a fighter. So we're going to see what happens moving forward. Now let's talk about this co-main event. Oh my God. I'm going to tell you right now, and you guys can call me a prisoner of the moment. You can say whatever you want to say, but I'm going to tell you right now, the fight with Weili Zhang and Joanna Jedrzejczyk might very well be the best fight I have ever seen in mixed martial arts. And I am not just talking about women's mixed martial arts. I think it's clearly, easily the best women's mixed martial arts fight I've ever seen. But I'm going as far as saying this sucker might have been the best fight, period. And I'm not a guy who just started watching mixed martial arts 5 years ago. I'm talking about I've been here since UFC 1. Okay, I've been following this sport for over 25 years. And I'm telling you, I'm not sure that I've ever seen a better overall fight. The precision striking, the number of clean, nasty shots that were absorbed, the drama, the skill level, the stylistic chemistry and match that was there, the guts and the grit that had to be shown by both women to absorb some of the stuff that was taken. If you go even before the fight, Weili had to move her training camp 3-4 times because of precautions due to the coronavirus that started in her home country of China. I mean, then you had the unfortunate, insensitive remarks from Joanna Jedrzejczyk leading up to the fight. There was all kinds of stuff at play here and a championship on the line. And they went in there on Saturday night and put on the show of shows. I'm going to tell you right now, usually when I watch a fight, I have a fairly clear, POV about who won the fight. I have no idea who really deserved to win this fight. It was that close. Now, Jedrzejczyk outlanded her throughout over the fight, I think about 21 to 26 significant strikes. Weili didn't have an advantage in significant strikes in any of the rounds. But the reason why I can't cry foul about the decision is because throughout the fight, it was very clear that Weili's punches and strikes did far more damage than what Joanna Jedrzejczyk's did. And if you need any, I mean, I am going to show you a picture right now that you're going to more than likely, I'm going to change this to the thumbnail of this video. I got to. I'm going to show you an image right now that if you have not seen it, you're going if you haven't seen this image, you're going to think that I, put something in Photoshop and made something. At the end of this fight, this is what Joanna Jedrzejczyk's face looked like. I am not joking with you. This is a real picture. I don't even know how I feel about this. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, while the fight was amazing, this was hard to look at. Just overall, this was hard. And I don't know, we may have some diehard boxing fans who are just showing some support, and they're sticking in here with me, and they're watching this just because they've shown the support. So you maybe you're not familiar with what Joanna Jedrzejczyk looks like. I'm going to show you a picture of what she looks like before that swelling and all that damage on her face. This is what she looked like before. And then this is after. What in the world is going on? Like, look at that. I mean, man, I like I said, I'm not even sure how I feel about what I saw. I'm really not. But as bad as she looked, you might say, oh, well, it's easy to know who won the fight. No, Joanna was tagging Weili throughout this entire fight, man, tagging her. But Weili was literally just taking these shots and coming right back, taking these shots and coming right back. It was just utterly insane. It really, really was just a crazy great fight. I felt like it's an instant classic. And it's so funny because it happened on a night that the John Jones Alexander Gustafsson fight was inducted or announced that it was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, right? And I think they made the announcement maybe, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 minutes before Weili versus Jedrzejczyk started. But in the middle of this fight, I was thinking it, and Joe Rogan said it. This fight automatically has to go into the Hall of Fame. And I mean, I wouldn't even wait because there's no perspective needed. As long as both women pass drug tests, post-fight drug tests or whatever, and nobody is as doping, this is, I'm trying to tell you, this fight, I can't even, if you didn't see it, as soon as this sucker is available on UFC Fight Pass, you have got to go and watch it. If you don't have ESPN Plus, I understand maybe you want to just pay $4.99 one quick time. If you don't watch any other fight, you gotta see this one. It was just that amazing. The amount of strikes and clean punches, kicks, strikes, period, just off the chain. Fantastic fight. I don't have any issue at all with Weili retaining her belt here. I don't. It was crazy. It was crazy. Matthew Martinez says, we'll not waste another Saturday night on either Romero or Izzy. Yeah, that's a good segue there, Matt. We can get into this main event. It wasn't great. And I'm gonna be honest with you. He says the co-main event saved the card. I'm gonna be honest with you, Matt. No, the fight was not great. No, Romero Izzy was not great. But I will say this. Both of those guys usually have better fights, right? I mean, Romero, Paulo Costa, Romero, 2 fights with Robert Whittaker. Those fights, those are great. Those were really good fights. Adesanya is coming off the fight with Whittaker. His fight with Kelvin Gastelum was amazing. I'm not going to throw those guys in the trash because they had one stinker. They did have an absolute stinker, right? I think it stunk more because it followed this amazing co-main event. Because it followed the amazing co-main event, I think that made it look much worse. Not true enough, it wasn't a good fight either way, but that made it look worse. I understand why Adesanya fought the way he did because Yoel Romero is one of the most dangerous, scary guys in combat sports. He is unpredictable. As Adesanya said after the fight, he lulls you into this false sense of security. And as soon as you let your guard down, and you're out, you're waking up, 5 seconds later and the fight's already over. So I got it. I understand that. But yes, when you accept the fact that that's your game plan and this is how you're going to fight this guy, you got to be ready for the booze. Now, Yoel Romero, in his post-fight interview, he starts talking about how Izzy ran and didn't want to fight, and this is not what people paid for. Quite honestly, Romero was just as much to blame about what happened as Adesanya. He didn't do much either, looking for action, and he's the challenger. He came in looking for a title. This is the umpteenth opportunity he's had to win the championship. Usually it gets squandered on the scales. This time it didn't. He actually gets in the octagon with a chance to win the UFC title. Came close against Robert Whittaker. You also consider Yoel Romero's 42 years old. Who knows how many times he'll get an opportunity to win. He may not ever get another chance to win a title. And he literally let this one go without being very active. And you accept the fact that the champion's not going to bring you the fight. No, that's generally not how it goes, especially when the champion is a tall, long, rangy middleweight who likes to use his length and distance to win fights. So if I'm blaming anybody, I'm blaming Romero because he's the one who had to come get the title. But ultimately, I think it was just an odd style fight that was, quite possibly, unless people threw caution to the wind, it could have ended up the way it did. Crypto Sensei says that Weili won because of her extreme power. I definitely think she was the stronger of the two strikers. And while Jedrzejczyk landed more shots, the impact of the punches is, the impact of the punches were clearly in Weili's favor. I mean, when Weili would connect, you'd see almost. This is why I give Jedrzejczyk so much credit, because when Weili would land, you would see Jedrzejczyk physically have a reaction like, "Whoa, this lady hits hard." But even with that, she's right back in there, bop, 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 throwing the combinations, finishing it with the leg kicks, just finishing these different 4 or 5, 3, 3 to 4 strike combinations. Finish on some of them north, some of them south. She fought a great fight, man. She fought a great fight. And against most people, the amount of shots that she landed would have been enough. But Weili's like this cyborg, man. Like, and I know that name belongs to another great female mixed martial artist, but I'm not sure that Weili isn't better suited for the nickname, because the way she absorbs shots and keeps coming forward. I thought she got tired at one point, maybe in the middle to late part of the 4th round, but by the 5th, she looked good again. It's crazy. It's just crazy, man. It's really just crazy. Jamai Khan said, Jamai Khan, I see it. I got you. Said that Romero should not get another shot. I cannot argue with you. I cannot argue with you. I mean, he's 42 years old. He's had countless shots. He just got a chance to win a world title, despite the fact that he was on a 2-fight losing streak. And then in this fight, you don't push the action. No, man, it's real hard to feel bad for. And I love Yoel Romero. He's one of my favorite fighters, but it's really difficult to feel bad for you when that was the situation. So yeah, no, I gotta agree with you, sir, that I don't think he should get another shot either. Matt Martinez says, yeah, Romero is more to blame. He's a challenger. I'm just bitter and tired. Yes, I would agree. He is more to blame, and he is the challenger. Crypto Sensei says Romero tried way harder in the last 7 minutes of the match. Izzy ran. Yeah, last 7 minutes of the match. I would say I could say that. Yeah, he pushed the pace more. But why did it take you 3.5 rounds to start pushing the pace? Like, why? The fight is 25 minutes. So the first 18, what was he doing? I mean, he literally came out in the first round and did this for the first 30 seconds and would not move. Just did this for the first 30 seconds. I'm like, Yoel, what is going on? I mean, because I'm going to be honest, I'm a journalist. I cover the sport for Forbes. I cover the sport for heavy.com. But at the root of it, I'm a fan, right, as well. And I was away from my journalistic side. I wanted to see Yoel win. I love Yoel. He's like an action figure or something. He's like some kind of guy, some kind of character out of a movie. I was like, yes, this guy. But you can't win a fight. Bruh, come on, Yoel. Let's go. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But I didn't hate it as much as everybody else. I didn't love it, but I remember once I went to a concert. I went to it was a concert. It was like Goody Mob. It was a hip hop concert. Goody Mob and the Roots were there. Now, if anybody knows the Roots, they're a live band and the music is more chill and everything, but they were the headliner. So they came on last. If you know Goody Mob, it's CeeLo and it's a really up-tempo group, and it gets the crowd going. Yeah. So CeeLo and Goody Mob come out, and the crowd is on just 50. And then they do their set, and when they leave, everybody's happy. And then the Roots come out. And it's like we all love this music. That's why we bought this ticket. That's why we here to see them perform. But right after Goody Mob just sent it up, it was like, now I'm giving Adesanya Romero a little bit too much credit because they were not the equivalent of the Roots tonight, but it was kind of that same kind of feel. Somebody turned up the energy all the way up through the roof, and then now somebody came with a much slower pace, and it was a fickle crowd anyway. They were booing anything that wasn't a whirling dervish of shots. And to be totally honest, I don't even think they were as into Weili and Jedrzejczyk as they should have been. Like they got a standing ovation towards the end, but that fight should have had 72 standing ovations. And it didn't. So but overall, interesting night of fights. I want to talk a little bit about what happened to Adam Kalnicki. How many boxing fans are here? Adam Kalnicki gets knocked out in the 4th round by Robert Helenius in a fight he was supposed to win, supposed to walk off with. I got 57 monitors here in this room, so I got to have several things on at one time. But man, nobody saw that coming. Yeah, Matt Romero is, I mean, literally. I mean, like when I grow up, I want to look like Yoel Romero. I still want to have a neck though. Just I could if I could keep my neck and be like Yoel Romero, that's what I want. But it doesn't matter if you look like that if you're not gonna fight. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Izzy was right. I mean, his take on Yoel Romero was spot on. He said he fights in lulls. He many fights in spurts, but I got what he was saying. He fights in spurts. He mad rush. And you just have to make sure that you stay on your square. Obviously, I'm making this sound much easier than said than done. But an opponent has to make sure that they stay on their square and that they don't let his changes of pace throw them off. Yoel Romero is like a point, and I'm full of analogies tonight, right? He's like a point guard in the NBA who was like Derrick Rose when he was in his 20s or something, right? And I know Yoel came late to mixed martial arts, but now he's still able or still capable of those really fast bursts of speed and athleticism. But now he has to play at a different pace. So he has to pick and choose his spots when he goes 100 or 1,000 miles per hour, because I think he has these really big concerns about his cardio. I think this really, really started happening with him in the Tim Kennedy fight. The Tim Kennedy fight, he got rocked. He was gassed. His corner started breaking rules, throwing water all over all over the canvas in the court of the octagon to give him a little bit more time. It was almost like Muhammad Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, slitting his glove after he got knocked down and was literally out by Henry Cooper just to give him some more time to recoup. It was almost like that. Romero bought himself more time, but ever since then, he's been very, very stamina cautious. And that has brought on that spurt fighting. And it's worked for him. Obviously, he's scored some amazing knockouts and was able to secure himself multiple title shots. But I think that he runs into a wall with active, accurate strikers. Now, don't get me wrong. I felt that he beat Robert Whittaker in the rematch. I thought he deserved that decision. I thought he could have made an argument that he deserved the victory over Paulo Costa, even though that wasn't a championship fight. I appreciate you watching, Matt, for sure. Even though that wasn't a championship fight, I thought he kind of deserved to get the victory there too. So his 3-fight losing streak isn't equal to maybe somebody else's who's dropped 3 fights in a row. I thought he's been very competitive and perhaps even won some of those fights. But at the end of the day, this was a controversial opportunity for him to begin with, and he lost too. So I don't know where he goes from here. He took his gloves off in the octagon, so I was a little bit nervous. I thought he was about to retire, which I guess I couldn't argue with too much. He is 42 years old. He did just lose his 3rd fight in a row, which was a title shot, and there's no telling when he'll get another opportunity. But I enjoy watching Romero fight. He's a beast, but I don't know. I don't know, guys. It was a great night. Pretty a nice night of fights overall. Especially on a night I wasn't really expecting that much from boxing. Got a little bit there. Saw Jono Carroll pull the upset over Scott Quigg. Might be an end of the road for Scott Quigg earlier in boxing. Then we saw Kalnacki get knocked out by Robert Helenius. And then we saw epic fight with Weili Zhang and Joanna Jedrzejczyk, and then we saw a little bit of a shaky one here with Adesanya and Romero. So that is all that I got for you guys tonight. I appreciate everybody who stayed up and talked or listened to me talk tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Oh, no, actually, probably not tomorrow. We'll be back Monday with another video here on Fight Guys. It will more than likely be boxing centric. So I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.